At the hospital, my DIL unplugged my machine. A nurse caught everything on video. I watched from my hospital bed as my daughter-in-law Sandra reached behind the ventilator, her manicured fingers wrapping around the power cord, while she whispered to my son Michael, "The doctor said she won't last the night anyway. This just speeds things up." What they didn't know was that I'd been off the ventilator for 2 days already. The machine was just monitoring my vitals, and the night nurse had her phone recording everything after I'd slipped her $500 that morning. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up and tell you how I ended up watching my own family try to murder me for money they didn't even know I'd already moved offshore 6 months earlier. My name is Catherine, though everyone called me Kat until about 3 years ago when Michael started calling me Mother in that cold, formal way that should have been my first warning. I'm 71 years old, and until recently, I thought I'd done everything right. Raised 2 kids after my husband Daniel died in a construction accident when they were teenagers. Worked double shifts at the hospital for 20 years to put them through college. Michael became a lawyer, not a very good one, but he had the degree. My daughter Jennifer became a real estate agent, also not very successful, but she tried. Or so I thought. The trouble started on a Tuesday morning in March when I broke my hip slipping on black ice outside the grocery store. Nothing dramatic, just a clean break that required surgery and some rehabilitation. I called Michael from the ambulance because he lived closest, only 15 minutes from Riverside General. "Mom, this is really inconvenient," he said when he finally showed up 3 hours later, Sandra trailing behind him in her designer coat that I knew cost more than my monthly pension. "We were supposed to meet with our financial advisor today." "I'm sorry my broken hip interfered with your schedule," I said, trying to keep the sarcasm light, but Sandra caught it. She squeezed Michael's arm. "Your mother's in pain, honey. We should discuss her living situation after she's feeling better." Living situation. Those 2 words set off every alarm bell I'd developed over 7 decades on this earth. But I was wheeled into surgery before I could respond, and when I woke up, things had already been set in motion. Here's the thing about being a retired cardiac nurse. You know every single person in the hospital. I'd worked at Riverside General for 34 years, trained most of the staff currently working there. So when Nancy, one of my former students, now the head nurse on the surgical floor, pulled me aside during my 2nd day of recovery, I listened. "Kat, I shouldn't be telling you this," she whispered, checking the hallway, "but your son's been asking about your mental state. He had some doctor I've never seen before come in while you were sedated. Dr. Brennan. Guy gave me the creeps." "What kind of doctor?" I asked, though I already suspected. "Psychiatrist, specializes in geriatric competency evaluations." Michael's been throwing around terms like dementia and inability to care for herself. "Kat, in all my years working with you, you're sharper than people half your age." That's when I knew. The living situation Sandra mentioned wasn't about getting me help. It was about getting me declared incompetent so they could control my finances. What they didn't know was that I'd been planning my retirement for years, and the $1 million life insurance payout from Daniel's death, which I'd never touched, just let it grow in investments for 35 years, was now worth $4.7 million. I'd never told the kids the exact amount. As far as they knew, I was living on my hospital pension and Social Security. "Nancy, I need you to do me a favor," I said, pulling out my phone. "I want you to document everything, every visit, every conversation, every paper they try to get me to sign. Can you do that?" She squeezed my hand. "Anything for you, Kat." "But what are you going to do?" "I'm going to give them exactly what they want," I said. "Or at least, what they think they want." The next 3 weeks were an education in how quickly family could turn into vultures. Jennifer flew in from Phoenix, suddenly concerned about her dear mother's well-being, after not calling me for 8 months. She and Sandra became thick as thieves, huddled in corners discussing arrangements and transitions. They thought I was doped up on pain medication, but I'd been palming the pills and only taking what I absolutely needed. The pain kept me sharp, kept me angry, kept me focused on what I was hearing when they thought I was asleep. "The house alone is worth $800,000, Jennifer whispered one evening. And she's got to have at least a few $100,000 in savings. Michael thinks it's more, Sandra replied. She never spent anything. Drove that same Honda for 15 years, never traveled, never bought anything nice for herself. Typical Depression-era mentality, Jennifer said. And I had to bite my tongue to keep from telling her I was born in 1953, not 1933. Once we get power of attorney, we can sell the house, liquidate her accounts. The memory care facility is only $3,000 a month. Even if she lives another 10 years, we'll still come out ahead by millions. Blood is thicker than water, but apparently not thicker than money. Dr. Brennan came by the next day with his competency evaluation. He was a thin man with nervous hands and a smile that never reached his eyes. Michael and Sandra stood behind him like guards while he asked me questions. Mrs. Patterson, what year is it? 2024, I answered, deliberately speaking slowly, letting my eyes wander a bit. And who is the president? I paused, frowned. Oh, that man. You know, the one with the... I trailed off, watching Michael and Sandra exchange satisfied looks. Can you tell me your children's names? Michael, I said clearly, then hesitated. And my daughter... Jane? No, Jennifer. Sometimes I mix them up. It went on like that for an hour. I gave just enough wrong answers to seem confused, but not enough to seem like I was faking. The hardest part was watching my son's face light up every time I stumbled over a response. 36 hours of labor to bring him into this world, and this is what it came to. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part came 2 days later when I overheard Sandra on the phone in the hallway. Yes, doctor. Brennan said she definitely qualifies for memory care. We just need her to sign the papers, or if she refuses, we can petition the court. No, she doesn't suspect anything. The inheritance? At least $5 million once everything's liquidated. Yes, we can definitely make that donation to your campaign, Judge Morrison. Judge Morrison. I knew that name. He'd been in the news for taking bribes but somehow never got prosecuted. Now I knew why Michael had seemed so confident about the legal proceedings. They'd bought the judge. That night, I called my friend Tommy, a fisherman who lived in a cabin up near Salmon Creek. We dated briefly about 10 years ago, remained good friends after. Tommy, I need somewhere to disappear for a while. Can you help? Kat, what's wrong? My kids are trying to have me declared incompetent and steal my money. I need to die. There was a long pause. Legally or literally? Legally, but it needs to look literal. I'll be there tomorrow with a plan. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity. Tommy knew a nurse, Maria, who worked the night shift in the ICU. For $10,000, which I happily paid, she would help stage a medical crisis that would require me to be put on a ventilator. Then, after a few days, she'd quietly discontinue the ventilator support, but leave the machine running, making it look like I was still dependent on it. Meanwhile, I'd take a turn for the worse, and Tommy would arrange for me to be transferred to a smaller hospital upstate for specialized care. Except I'd never make it there. The ambulance would stop at Tommy's cabin, where I'd hide out while everyone thought I was dying in some remote facility. But we needed one more thing: evidence of what my family was planning. That's where Nancy came in. I've been recording everything, she told me, showing me her phone. Michael bringing in that sketchy doctor, Sandra talking about your money, Jennifer discussing selling your house while you're still alive. But Kat, this morning I heard something that changes everything. She played me a recording. It was Michael and Sandra in the family waiting room. Michael's voice: "If she doesn't sign the papers soon, we might need to consider other options." Sandra: "What kind of options?" Michael: "Doctor. Brennan knows someone who can make things happen, make it look natural. Elderly people have accidents all the time, medication errors, falls, even issues with life support machines." Sandra: "You're not seriously suggesting..." Michael: "I'm suggesting we've come too far to let her stubbornness ruin everything. Dad left her that insurance money, and she's been sitting on it like a dragon on gold while we struggle. Jennifer's about to lose her house. We're behind on the Mercedes payments. Your sister needs that surgery. This is our inheritance, Sandra. We're just claiming it a little early." Sandra: "How much would it cost?" Michael: $50,000. But considering what we stand to gain, Sandra, do it. They were planning to kill me. My own son was planning to murder me for money. I looked at Nancy, who had tears in her eyes. We're calling the police, she said. No, I said. Not yet. If we alert them now, they'll just deny everything. Say it was taken out of context. Michael's a lawyer. He knows how to talk his way out of things. We need them to actually attempt it. Kat, that's dangerous. I've been dealing with dangerous my whole life. At my age, what's one more risk? So we refined the plan. Maria would put me on the ventilator for a legitimate reason. I'd have a reaction to medication that would require temporary breathing support. After 2 days, she'd wean me off but keep the machine running, making it appear I was still dependent. Nancy would make sure Michael and Sandra knew exactly when she'd be off shift, leaving me vulnerable. The hardest part was the waiting. Lying in that bed, pretending to be sedated while my children discussed my death like they were planning a vacation. Jennifer started shopping for new cars online. Sandra looked at beach houses. Michael met with a real estate agent about my house, where I'd raised them, where their father had built the back deck with his own hands. They thought I was just a helpless old woman. They forgot I'd spent 34 years in cardiac units, watching families make life and death decisions. I knew exactly how people behaved when they thought no one was watching. The night came sooner than expected. It was Thursday, raining hard against the windows. Nancy had made a big show of telling Michael she had to leave early for a family emergency. Maria was conveniently on break. The ICU was quiet, just the beeping of machines and the distant sound of nurses at the far station. I kept my eyes closed as I heard the door open. Footsteps. 2 sets. Michael and Sandra. You sure about this? Sandra whispered. The longer we wait, the more it costs us in medical bills, Michael replied. Dr. Brennan said she's brain dead anyway. We're just helping nature along. Through my cracked eyelids, I saw them approach the ventilator. Sandra was filming on her phone, probably for some sick insurance fraud scheme. Michael reached for the power cord. That's when I opened my eyes fully. Hello, son. He jerked back so hard he knocked into Sandra, who dropped her phone. Mom, you're awake? I've been awake the whole time, I said, sitting up straighter. The ventilator tube had never been in my throat. Maria had rigged it to look connected, but it was just taped cleverly under my chin. Also, I haven't been on the ventilator for 2 days. That machine's just been monitoring my heartbeat, which, by the way, is perfectly steady for someone whose son just tried to murder her. We weren't? This isn't? Michael stammered. Oh, but it is, Nancy said, stepping out from behind the privacy curtain with her phone. I got the whole thing on video. Hi, Michael. Remember me? I used to babysit you when your mom worked doubles. But the best part was when Detective Morrison walked in. No relation to the corrupt judge, just a happy coincidence with the name. Michael Patterson, Sandra Patterson, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and elder abuse. Jennifer tried to run when they came for her at her hotel. She made it all the way to the parking garage before 3 officers stopped her. Turns out she'd been the one to contact the hitman Dr. Brennan knew, an undercover cop who'd been building a case against Brennan for months. Dr. Brennan sang like a canary when they arrested him, gave up everything, the bribery, the fake competency evaluations, the kickbacks from memory care facilities. Judge Morrison was arrested at his golf club. The whole network came crashing down because they underestimated one retired nurse who knew how to play possum. The trial was a sensation. Elderly woman fakes coma to catch murderous children made headlines across the country. Michael got 15 years, Sandra got 12, Jennifer got 10. Dr. Brennan got 20. The judge got the most, 25 years and disgrace. But here's what really hurt. Going through their phones and emails during the investigation, finding out how long they'd been planning this. It wasn't a recent thing. They'd been discussing it for 3 years. Every Christmas dinner, every birthday card, every "I love you, Mom" had been a lie for 3 years. I sold the house. Couldn't live there anymore with all those memories turned poison. Gave most of the furniture to charity, kept only what had belonged to Daniel. That $4.7 million I'd saved? I donated $2 million to elder abuse prevention programs, set up a scholarship fund for nursing students with another $1 million, kept enough to live comfortably but not extravagantly. I moved to a little cottage by the ocean, near Tommy's place. We're not romantic anymore, but we have dinner twice a week, go fishing on Sundays. I adopted a cat named Trouble who likes to knock things off tables just to watch them fall. Seems appropriate. Nancy visits once a month. She brought me a photo from the ICU Christmas party. All the nurses wearing Team Cat t-shirts. Made me cry for the first time since this whole mess started. Good tears, though. The kind that wash things clean. Sometimes I walk along the beach and think about Michael and Jennifer as children. Building sandcastles, chasing waves, begging for ice cream. I wonder when they changed, or if they were always capable of this and I just couldn't see it. A mother's love is blind, they say. Maybe that's true, but I'm not blind anymore. Last week, I got a letter from Michael in prison. He wants forgiveness, says he's found God, that Sandra influenced him, that he wasn't in his right mind. I threw it in the fire unopened. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt, they're meant to be burned and the ashes scattered to the wind. I'm 71 years old. I've buried a husband, survived cancer twice, worked through 3 recessions, and now I've survived my own children trying to murder me. At my age, most people are thinking about their legacy, about what they'll leave behind. I've learned that the greatest legacy isn't what you leave to your children. It's surviving long enough to see who they really are and choosing to thrive despite it. They thought I was just some helpless old woman whose time had passed. They forgot that I'd spent decades keeping people alive, that I knew every trick, every sign, every tell. They forgot that before I was their mother, I was Catherine, Cat, a woman who'd survived everything life threw at her and came out stronger. The cottage is quiet except for the ocean waves and Trouble's purring. I'm learning to paint, terrible at it, but it makes me happy. I joined a book club with other women who've been through their own battles. We call ourselves the Silver Survivors. We drink wine, curse like sailors, and remind each other that our voices still matter, our stories still count, our lives are still ours to live. Tomorrow marks 1 year since that night in the ICU. Nancy's coming over with Maria to celebrate. We're going to toast to survival, to justice, to the family we choose rather than the family we're born with. And maybe, just maybe, I'll tell them about the FBI agent who's been asking me out for coffee. He worked the case against Judge Morrison, says he admires my courage. I told him courage is just fear that's been around the block a few times. 40 years of motherhood, and this is what it came to. But I'm still here, still breathing without any machine, still fighting, still refusing to be thrown away like garbage. Because here's what my children never understood. I didn't survive this long by being weak. I survived by being smarter, tougher, and more patient than anyone who tried to break me. They thought they were predators, and I was prey. They forgot that in nature, the most dangerous creature is a mother protecting herself. The sun is setting now, turning the ocean gold and pink. Trouble is demanding dinner. My paintings are still awful, but they're mine. The FBI agent, his name is Robert, is bringing Chinese food tomorrow. Life at 71 isn't what I planned, but it's mine, earned with blood, tears, and the kind of rage that only comes from betrayal by those you loved most. They tried to unplug me from life itself. Instead, they unplugged me from the illusion that blood means loyalty, that family is forever, that children can't become monsters. Now I'm plugged into truth, into chosen family, into a life that's smaller but more honest than anything I had before. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.